Okay, let's see how this works out. I'm going to try and talk as I go along with coloring. So typically, we're going to talk about coloring skin tone. Typically, when I color skin tone, I start with 3 different Copic markers. The base is, oh, I can't find it. Here we go. The base is an EOO, it's called Cotton Pearl. The second is EO1, it's called Pink Flamingo, and then RO1, Pinkish Vanilla. They make really great skin tones. So let's start. So when I color skin tone, I usually lay down a layer of marker. And by the way, sorry if the video is really bouncy. My holder thingy likes to bounce. So, okay. So here's the way I usually do it. I start by coloring the areas I want to look darkest first. Give her a little button nose. Normally people have a little bit of an indentation in here and at the corner of the eyes leading into the brow line. Underneath the bangs, because the bangs would give off a bit of a shadow. People have cheeks, so I do a little thing like this to give them a little rounded highlight. And you can sort of see how the facial structure is starting to form. And in the areas where I want it to be darkest, I go back in and I color several times, because the more layers of ink you put down, the darker the area will be. Now, the good thing about using Copic markers or Blick sketch markers is that they are alcohol-based markers, and they are extremely good at blending. So when you use more than one color, or you use several layers of the same color, and then you go over with a lighter color, it will start to blend. So you see the light come out, and all of the dark sort of create depth. So all of this has been the EOO, the Cotton Pearl. This is a shaky video. I hope that nobody has vertigo. Okay, so that's sort of a base of skin color. So I'm going to go back in with the EO1, the Pink Flamingo, and then I'm going to really add some depth to those dark areas. And once again, Copics are alcohol markers, so they sort of blend without a lot of work, as long as they're kind of wet. And even when they're not totally wet, they do. Lines are the enemy of my life. I hate marker lines. So you kind of see how just through using marker, you're sort of creating a depth of facial features, I guess. This is the RO1, the Pinkish Vanilla. And it's very pink, so I'm going to use it super sparingly in the areas I want to be darkest. Because if you go crazy, she looks pink. Okay, that's a basic marker laydown. Then I go back in with colored pencils. I use a variety of colored pencils. I use Prismacolor Premier, which have kind of a waxy feel to them. I use just straight up Crayola colored pencils. They're sort of a drier pencil, and you can really control the amount of pencil you leave behind. Whereas with the waxy pencils, they're pretty hard to control the amount of color you leave behind. So like with the pencils, you can add more shadow and highlight, and I'm going to do her makeup. And there are no straight lines in nature, and so you almost never want to leave a straight line on your art. Give it a little bit of shadow on the outside, unless your style is super crisp lines. And you kind of go a little bit on the inside of the eyes too, and it kind of fades the eyeliner into her eyes a bit, and it gives it a little bit more realistic depth. So that was a Crayola black colored pencil. This is the white Prismacolor pencil. I'm gonna add a little bit of highlights here. Give her a little highlight on her nose, a little bit on her cheeks, a little bit on the corner of her eyes to brighten them up and make them bigger. And anywhere else you think it would fit. And you can kind of go dark to light so that it blends in a little bit. Okay. Now let's see here. I'm gonna do her eyes. This is a BOO Frost Blue Copic. And I leave a little bit of light, like white area, that looks like the white of her eyes, like the reflection of light. I'm gonna go back in with my favorite black Crayola color pencil, and you kind of fade a little bit of black around the outside of the eyeball. And then you can go back in and add pupils. They kind of fade in a little bit if you color them right. Fancy white Prismacolor. Bottom of the eye's a little more light. This is a blue Prismacolor. Add a little bit of depth. There, she's got pretty blue eyes. Now I'm going to do her lips. Oh, I grabbed the wrong marker. We'll eventually get to her lips. Okay, this is a Carmine Red Copic marker. Just sort of color her lips in, and I leave a little bit of white space because everybody likes luscious, shiny lips. Oops, I hit the camera with my marker. Everyone needs to take their vertigo pills before they watch this. Too late, 7 minutes in, nice disclaimer. Okay, go back in with my white. Just add a little bit of a glow. It makes them look a little shinier, more three-dimensional. Okay, now we're gonna do eyebrows. I have a very light brown Crayola pencil here. And you just sort of lightly shade them in. You can add single hairs if you want, but I kind of like them flat. Okay, then I'm going to take that same Crayola pencil, and I'm going to start to define some of the lines in her nose. I don't want to make them too dark, otherwise they'll look really blocky and stand out. Give a little bit of definition to her smile, her ear, various places around her face. Let's see, now a darker Crayola colored pencil. I grabbed the wrong one. This one is not sharp. Just for kicks and giggles, we're going to use a praying because it's easiest to grab. And it's a little darker, so it has a little bit more definition. Okay, let's see here. Now we're going to give her a little blush. Another colored pencil that I really like is called the Prismacolor Color Erase. These are actually erasable colored pencils. And the really nice thing about them is they smudge, like super duper easy. So add a little bit of blush. And if I'm really good at shadow or shading, I don't have to do a ton.